So, I don't know if you get a kick out of this or not. This is a little bit different. It looks the same, but it's a little bit different because yesterday I forgot the camera, and you didn't get to see the mess that had happened. I had screwed up, and I had, you can see what's going on. I put these clampy boards on this time, because what had happened, was these clamps I put at the end pulled up. You see how they pull? And they pulled up, and this board bent. It was at a terrible angle, and I couldn't live with it, so I cut it off, made a new piece, glued it on somewhat differently, and hopefully this will come off. There we go, that worked. All right, and now a little bit more cleanup, a little bit more, you know, whatever. But we'll get it. And this time, of course, it's beautiful. So that's good. I mean, it's nice to achieve good, right? Nice and in line. Putting the blocks on either side, the cauls in this case, on either side to keep this thing straight and flat, really worked. It's not just, you know, you get on a roll and you think you can do anything, and it'll just work out because you want it to. But here we are. All right, let's clean the bench off, at least this corner, and we'll get this glue off, sand this up, and get a coat of shellac on it all. Now, because I'm going to expose fresh wood where I sanded it. And then we'll know where we are. Okay, we'll see in a minute. So, these joints are all just a teeny bit misaligned. It's not much. But I want to bring them into smooth and flat. Not so much this joint. I don't care that much about this and this. It's a panel. I intentionally made this panel, I don't know, thinner, 64, 32nd thinner than the sides. But the sides I want smooth and flat. There's a little bit of a ridge. There's a little bit. This is up a little bit on this side, and correspondingly this is down a little bit on this side. It's no big deal. So you always, what do I use for sandpaper? I could plane this. I could get a little plane out and plane this thing, but because of the nature of this wood, I won't be able to plane without tearing the grain in one direction or another. I can't. Maybe you can. So I'm going to sand. I've got some 180 sandpaper on this, and I'm going to see what I can do with that. So let's see what happens. Well, that's that. Wasn't a big deal, right? I'm going to, a little bit of glue, because this is thinner, oozed out underneath the caul. But this is already shellacked, and so the glue is just peeling right off. It is no issue to me whatsoever. Scrape it and it's gone. And same thing here. And now it's gone. Alright, flip this around. And I'll address these. This is this one. And that one. Yeah, that's it. That's what happens there. Alright, flip this over. In reverse, but much the same thing. So, all right, so first it's these, this is, on this side, this piece is up a little bit, not much. You'll see the glue, if you watch really carefully. Let me tell you what, let's get in real tight. You'll see what happens with the glue. I think this will tell the story. You see what's happening, there's no glue on this surface. From there, that line over, it's only on this side. That's because this is a little bit low and the glue is oozed onto it. So, and that Got it there, not quite there yet. And there it is. It's all the glue is gone, which means that the pieces are leveled out. Now, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, which suggests that this might end up with a little bit of a hump in it. Won't be much, if at all. All right, let's pull it back. All right, so got that. I guess that's my way of saying to you that it wasn't much of a big deal. 180. It's not the highest quality finishing paper, the highest grit, but pretty good. This is going to get shellacked and sanded with 220 after that. It's my typical finish. So this right here, this is good other than a little bit of glue. So let's get rid of that. And that's that. That's that. All right. So now I'll hand sand this center part, the panel, and we'll get a coat of shellac on it and be ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow's the big day on getting these things fitted into the bottoms stretchers. Anyway, a little bit of cleanup. I've got, turns out there's a knife in my pocket. But that I've left a little teeny bit of a gap in the panel so it'd have a little bit of room to come and go. And naturally, glue being opportunistic material has walked into it. It hasn't stuck because if you recall, I waxed the panel, so we're good on that. All right, do the same thing over here. No big deal. All right, good, all good. And a little sanding. See you in a minute. So I've got one coat of shellac on this, and it's time to sand. But I've got the one coat of shellac on this thing, and it's rough and really pecky. And the whole point of this is to get the grain to stand up and lock in place all the fibers, loose fibers of the grain of the surface. And I'm going to try this all again. Hey, so this is the side of the tray for the top of the piece, and I've got one coat of shellac on this striped grain, this ribbon-grained mahogany, and because of the cross-grained nature, the fibers are sticking up everywhere, so the first coat of shellac is going to stiffen those fibers so that I can sand them off. I've got some 220 sandpaper, and just watch this. I'm going to turn this glowing, pecky surface into a dull, dusty, amber shellac dusty. Oh my God. Now, the trick is, I'm using 220 paper. I don't want to sand through. I want to sand just the stuff on the surface. And that's what I've done. And now it is smooth as a baby's butt. And the color's all gone because I've taken the glossy part and exposed all of the fibers of wood that were stuck in it. So it's now dull, wicked dull. And I will finish sanding this thing, blow it all off, and put another coat of shellac on this thing, and it will just glow. You'll love it. Alright, so this is that tray, upside down. I'm sanded. It's pretty smooth. Certainly good enough for another coat of shellac. This will be the last coat of shellac. After this will be sanding and lacquer. I've got a beat up old brush, and I've mixed up some shellac, a kind of a 2-pound cut. And I'm not going to pretend that I know what that means. You don't use the shellac out of the can. because it's too dense. The shellac part of it's too dense. There's not enough thinner. So I thinned it out some. And this will provide a nice smooth coat. I've blown out all the cracks so that I shouldn't be picking up sanding dust from inside the cracks and spreading it around, only to have to sand it off again. You can see how that goes. So this, this is all going to get sanded. I just want it on there, and it's thin. It's thin. It's going to dry fast, and it's going to dry pretty hard, and it's thin. It spreads out thin, and the shellac, the material that isn't vehicle, is less. So the layer, once the vehicle, the alcohol, evaporates out, it will leave a even thinner film. So not only does it spread out more, but it dries thinner. Look at that. I'm getting this. I'm going to try to turn this over onto these sticks. Wish me luck. This isn't going to work out. Like that. All right. Like that. You see? Okay, now you can see part of this. I should check. Yeah, all right, I could do better. Here we go. So I've got, rules, right? Do the high spots first. Can't go back over this too much because it's got so much alcohol in it. It's going to dry really fast. Dry. Start to dry. Shellac doesn't link up like oil paint. The vehicle, in this case the alcohol, evaporates and leaves a film, deposited film. Many of you won't get this, but right now I'm thinking film at 11. Ask your grandmother. So, planning out your sequence so that you're working a wet edge is really a good move. I'm not very clever, so I'm going to fail at that. Trying to hold to the rule of going with the grain. No particular reason. I don't think. But if there was, this is I guess really what it comes down to, is if there was ever any artifact of the application, if it was with the grain, it would be minimized, or a negative artifact. If it was a positive artifact, obviously. This is going pretty darn well. So next with this will be some 320 sanding. and then it'll be assembled before I'm going to have a lacquer top coat, but I'll have this assembled before I start doing that. So this will be the last of the pre-finishing, pretty sure. Unless I've missed something or I've made some sort of mistake. Excuse me for a moment. I'm going to call it good. Fooling around with it is not going to improve it. Here I go. Proving that. Good. Good. All right. I don't want to pour this back into the container because my container is pristine. So I've got this jug that I've put my slop into. And that I put my brush in so I don't have to clean the brush. And this will be good enough for first coating something. Done. Thanks for watching. We have more fun tomorrow. Looks good. Well, so far I've spared you the lathe work because I'm not much of a turner. But what I am doing now is I'm popping them back on the lathe. I've shellacked the turnings because they were a little bit on the fuzzy side. And I don't want to get shellac on the square parts because that's where I'm going to be gluing the pieces together. So, all that said, that's not really pretty. All that said, it's now time, you know, if I'm going to use the lathe again to smooth these things up, it's just the time to do it. They're, like I say, they have little bits of peckiness on them, so we'll knock it off with sandpaper. This is this is 180 sandpaper. And it just cleans up the shellac portions pretty well. Try not to get your fingers in the way. I mean, what's not to like about that, right? Yeah, use up this piece. Get another one. Be right back. This is, you know, tough on the sandpaper because it rubs over and over and over again in the same spot, which just loads the sandpaper up with shellac buttons, which is just like making it dull, filling with, there's nothing there, just waxy material, but you get sick of cleaning it. Alright, and now this one. Nice. Nicely done. And it doesn't mean I can't sand it again. It just means I don't have to go through that whole finding all the crevices. Anyway, that one's done. One more. I'm thinking now I'm really close to the stage where I'm going to trim the ends to size. This one's, you know, about 3/8 of an inch that has to come off. That I left, you know, for the drive spurs. I'm pretty close to that moment when all of those things get cut off, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, I won't be able to put it back on the lathe again. I'll never be able to find the centers, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm putting it right back where it was when I turned it. Loads up pretty quickly. All right, this is not quite in the center. I'm going to sand it in a bit. It's going to be fine. Good. Oh, that's nice and smooth. That's what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be smooth. All right, should take care of that. Now, they're about as sanded as I'm going to make them. they're really pretty smooth. They do have some lines in them still. Hopefully that'll come out. It gets one more, well, this will get 2 coats of shellac on it. This will, of the 2, this will probably get 1. And then sanded in between, or steel wooled, or sanded, I don't know which. Anyway, but ready to do a quick fit together, finalize the lengths, cut them, and then get ready to do assembly. See what happens. Alright, so now I have to, amongst other things, notch the corners of this, because this is going to, the corners are, the legs stick into the space. So I need to knock these corners out before I can even start the process of fitting this. This is going to be held in place with little 1/4-inch tongues on the edges of this. Just going to hold it all together, but before I get to that point, I've got to get it slipped over the legs. So that's what I'm doing right now. I looked around the shop and realized that I had probably half a dozen different ways of doing this. And then it came to me that the quickest one was to just cut it. Pretty much always the way. Anyway, so I'll have this in just a second. Didn't cut through. There we go. All right, cut. We're going to do a test fit. Let's go see how that looks. Okay, well this thing is upside down, as you can tell. So this is a good opportunity to see how this fits. And things go right. That's snug. Oh, look at that. That is just beautiful. It fits in between the legs. That's what the notches were, to get in between the corners of the legs. Now I'm going to cut a tongue on the edges of this, 1/4 of an inch tongue, 1/4 of an inch, and cut a notch 1/4 of an inch deep. And then I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch groove in the 4 sides, and then boom, boom, the whole thing will go together. This will fit in between the posts, and these will fit into the rails, and the bottom will be smooth and flat, and I'll be ready to glue this together, which is pretty exciting. I haven't been ready to glue it together other than emotionally ready for a while. So we're good. We're headed on the right direction. Once I get that glued, I'll then be able to finalize my cuts on that, because they've got to fit for the wheels, which are going to go here, but they've got to be the right height. Anyway, we're definitely getting somewhere. Can't wait. Okay, take it apart, do the grooves, do the tongues, fit the pieces together, maybe try one more dry fit before I overcommit, just in case there's a problem. And then boom, a little bit of glue, it's together, maybe before the day's out. All right.